Good afternoon. Welcome to Lunch with Lisa. Again, we are well into our third week now. And as you all might know by now, but I am the CEO of Nickerson. We are a full service public relations and marketing agency based in Boston and also Miami. And we decided at the beginning of this pandemic, when we were first told to be at home, that people needed something midday, a refresh for their brain and just a quick snack, right? So 25 minutes, 12:15. And we have been really thrilled by how many people are joining us day after day and making this a part of their habit and a part of their day where they grab their lunch and they join us, they learn something new. Yesterday, we had an expert on friendship on, and I couldn't believe how many messages, really thoughtful messages I got after that. And quite frankly, a lot of people got some thoughtful messages from me after that. So I want to introduce today's guest, Alanna Fincke. She's a health and well-being expert who helps people build their resilience and coping skills, bringing about long-term change in their health, wellness, and work performance. And a senior vice president and director of content at meQuilibrium, you focus on making the powerful science of resilience and cognitive behavior therapy accessible and understandable for all. So what's interesting is this was sort of like soft and fuzzy type of topical stuff once upon a time. And now this is just what we're talking about every day, is how we help our team be more resilient and stronger. Adding to that, you've worked in the health and well-being field for most of your career, in the media, leading wellness brands as a writer, speaker, and on television as an expert and yoga teacher. You worked with many of the leading brands that we all know, Elle Magazine, Us Weekly, and Martha Stewart Omnimedia. You are an integrated health coach for all, and welcome, and thank you for coming today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sure.
Excited to be here.
Yeah. And so, we want to get into, we have only 25 minutes. It goes very quickly. We have our live chat. As always, we have our poll open. So please, everyone, remember to respond to the poll. And this relates exactly to what we're talking about today in the resilience. How are you managing from home? And I'm hearing more and more people say they don't want to go back to their commute. They don't want to be in the office 5 days a week. So tell us, do you want to work from home forever? It's working pretty well for now, or I can't wait to get back to the office. I'm going to shorten this up. In about 10 minutes, I'm going to close that out. So if everybody could just remember to do that poll, and then we could actually talk about it on the show today. But hi to everyone who has said hi and good morning. The chat's open. Alanna, I'll let you take it from here.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. As Lisa said, resilience is like the skill that we all need right now to help us get through these crazy times. I'm not going to say the new normal because everybody's saying that, but these unprecedented times we're living in. And as Lisa said, I'm from a company called meQuilibrium, and meQuilibrium it's really interesting. It's a SaaS tool and an app for people that helps them manage their stress and build their resilience. And it's all based on cognitive behavioral therapy. And it's sold B2B2C. So we're sold into big companies like the IBMs of the world and offered as a free benefit to all the employees, because we know when people can manage their stress, that they feel better, they have lower healthcare costs, and more engaged, and all these good things. So that's so.
If you don't mind me, just hold it 1 second. When you were working with big companies like an IBM before this happened, right? Mm-hmm. What would that look like regularly, and how has that changed now?
Yeah, well, it's a really good question. It's changed now so much because everybody is trying to figure out how to support their people. These organizations we're all figuring out how to get through this, and they're figuring out how they want to support their people through this, and how can they quickly give their people something that can support them. And meQuilibrium, of course, is that solution that's there for them, that can really give their people tools to handle getting through these times.
Right. I don't know if you saw Saturday Night Live when they did the very first one remote this weekend, and they had the people on the Zoom, and one person was crying and one person was like on their bed crying, and another person was like, what are you doing? And it was really funny. Of course, it's dramatic. It's Saturday Night Live, but it was really sort of talking about how some people are really struggling during this time, but you need to now not only somehow get over it, right? But you've got to be on camera and talking in a completely different way to people. And so I'll let you keep going, but I just think it's fascinating how I feel like this week people are starting to get their groove down and their resilience up. And but anyway,
Yeah, no, it's true. It's one of the things we talk about is what's needed now so much when we're doing this remote work and is empathy. It's because we have got to be connected to each other. It's so important now. We have to figure out creative ways. I don't know, different companies are doing really interesting things right now to stay connected, even though we're all remote. We're doing things like we started something this week that's like, come have coffee with me. And we're putting like 15 minutes on different people's calendars. And I set up a coffee with like my pod at work, who I don't always talk to them now in my workflow. So I set up a coffee with my pod for tomorrow to do like a full breakdown of Tiger King. And, just so because that's a conversation that we would just have in between meetings and between our work. It's not happening anymore. So we want to stay connected to our coworkers and also have empathy, like take those few minutes to, before we dive into like the to-do list that we have, that's 100 things long, just be like, how's it going? How are you? How are the kids? How's everyone? And just give everyone a chance to vent and connect on that deeper level. I think it goes a long way.
I have a thought on that. Last week, one of our team members, actually it was a couple of them, it was Chris and Hayden, and they said, we keep getting on these calls and we're talking about work and we're not talking about those fun things anymore. Would it be okay if we blocked the time that we all got on and just talked about something fun we were doing? And so I guess my suggestion to people is don't wait for a manager to suggest it or the leadership to suggest it. It was really great that Chris and Hayden suggested it. The whole team did it. And I wouldn't have otherwise known that Kate was painting and that Chris lives on his soda machine. And, Hayden brought his dogs on. And it was such a break to like just all chat. And I actually sent the whole team a message after and said, wow, I actually feel like I have a second wind right now. And so I want to encourage anybody to just suggest it and not wait for other people.
Totally. We did a whole company-wide Zumba class 4 weeks ago. It was so fun. So you can get creative and do some fun things.
So when you've talked about resilience, you've talked about 7 stages, and we even said we may not be able to get through 7 stages, but let's talk about what are the risks of not being resilient right now? Why do we need to be? And how is it going to set us up for transformational change, which is one of the things I think I'm hearing a lot from people now is they're trying to figure out who they need to be in not only the next few weeks, but now the months and the year coming, because we may all be interacting differently. Our way of doing business development, our way of communicating with others is going to be different. And they're trying to figure out who they are in their career. And so how will resiliency help with this transformational change people feel they need to make?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll start at the beginning and just define resilience for people. A lot of people think resilience is just the grit to get through tough stuff, and you're either born that way or you're not. And it's not. I mean, resilience is that grit, but it's so much more. It's really, resilience is our ability to be able to manage stress, bounce back from adversity and challenge, and to be able to move forward and thrive. So it's really not just getting to zero. It's like getting to that good stuff too. Right. And it's not something you're born with or not. It is a learnable set of skills that has been researched for over 25 years, and anybody can learn it. And so it's available to anybody. And the sort of foundation of resilience is, the science is really clear on this, that our thoughts drive our emotions and our behavior. So if we want to change our behavior, if we want to change that freak out, the stress, the anger, the frustration, the worry, the worst case scenario thinking, all that stuff, if we want to change all those behaviors, we have got to change our thoughts. And resilience is really at its foundation, the science of helping people do that. And one of the foundational skills that I wanted to talk about today was like, because we're all dealing with it, is how do we manage our anxiety? Like anxiety about everything, about the future of the world, our jobs, our financial situation, our kids. There's so much uncertainty. Uncertainty is actually one of the top human stressors, like in the world. And we're all feeling that right now. I think the APA just really released a new survey showing that 3/4 of the population of the world is, under high stress and anxiety right now. No shocker. But so how do we manage that? And there's some good techniques that can help us. One, we like to call trap it, map it, zap it. So
that one.
Trap it, map it, zap it. So you want to trap that emotion when you start to feel it. So when you start to feel anxious, like stomach gets tight or your chest gets tight, your shoulders end up by your ears or your jaws. So, it's like you got to sort of figure out, you sort of get hot, figure out when you're starting to feel that anxiety. So trap that feeling and then map it to the thought. Like, what am I thinking? It's like, oh, shit, I'm going to lose my job, or what am I going to do about my kids, or they're not doing well. And, map it to that thought and then reframe it, because we're going to overreact more frequently than necessary. So just kind of reframe that. Be like, okay, do I need to feel this freaked out about this right now, or can I pull myself back into a realistic zone? So trap it, map it, gap it.
Have you had any personal experiences that would relate to how you manage now, or that made you better or stronger at being this type of coach?
100%. I just exactly 1 year ago, pretty much, was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Wow.
Complete shock, totally out of the blue. If you ask my friends, one of the healthiest people they know, there's no family history of any cancer in either side of my family. Complete and total shock. I don't think I've ever had to put resilience to the test more than in the last 12 months. And I can say that, these skills that I've learned supported me like incredibly through the last year, even allowed me to grow from the experience. As hard as it was, I feel like I've found the learnings and the growth from it in a really powerful way and kind of turned it around for me. But in those times where I didn't know what my treatment was going to be or how I was going to get back to work, all those, and so much uncertainty and unknown, I would just use the skills around one that I just taught you around manage my anxiety, or noticing the good things that are happening and try to stay positive, practicing some gratitude, seeing that those good things that I have, my family, my mom was here, my kids were amazing. All my friends brought me food for like 2 months. There were so many beautiful things that came out of it so a lot of lessons learned for sure.
And so how does that then lead to the transformational change, right? Because transformational change isn't something that happens overnight. It's something we practice. And I think there's even, we have good days and bad days, stronger days and better days. But how do we get to this transformational change? And does it maybe not even have to be that big a word right now? Maybe it's like, how do we make little transitions as we start to figure things out, right?
Yeah.
So what are your suggestions there?
I think that's such a great way that you were breaking down this word transformational change, because that's overwhelming. Transformational change, like, well, how am I ever going to do that? And James Clear in his book Atomic Habits has a really great analogy for change that I love to share, because it really is sort of the essence of it. And I'll just share it now really quickly. If you're on a plane from LA and you're bound for New York, when you're mid-flight, if the pilot changes the trajectory 3%, you'll end up in DC, not in New York. You're not going to feel that change. You won't know that it's happening. You're not going to feel that in the air, that you've changed that 3 degrees, but you're going to feel in a totally different place. And that's really the essence of change. And that's what I coach a lot of my clients on, is these, to your point, these tiny, small changes. Because you're changing before you know it. 2 weeks out to your diet or your exercise or your mental and emotional health plan, whatever your changes you're making, you may not feel that transformational moment yet, but you're changing, and you're going to hit that critical mass down the road, maybe a few weeks more, maybe a month more. And then suddenly you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, oh my God, I feel totally different now. But it didn't happen overnight. That's the thing. It was that little 3%, 1%, 2% shift that you've been making for a long time.
How do you suggest people track this? Is it, when we had Dr. Jen Welter on last week, she talked about adding priorities to your to-do list, such as yourself. Yesterday, Lydia had mentioned, that reaching out to your friends being just as big a priority as going to the gym. So if now we're putting the gym onto the list, we're putting ourselves onto the list, and we're putting our friends onto the list. Now for our 1% change of the day, is that something we should add to our list? Like, do we keep it in a journal? What are your suggestions for helping us shift our flight pattern?
Yeah. That's great. So change happens, as we said, in these tiny little moments and movements and habits. And your hope for any sort of new habit that you bring into your life is you want to make it sort of like what they call unconscious competence, right? I don't have to think about it, but I just do it. And when you start to make a new habit, there's sort of like this habit stages you go through. First, it's like your unconscious incompetence. So I don't know about it and I don't care about it and I'm not doing anything. And then you're sort of consciously incompetent. So I know that I want to start running, but I don't really know how to do it. And then you have
acceptance.
Yeah.
No, acceptance. That's recognizing. Yeah. Okay.
Then you have conscious competence. So it's like, I know how to run. I'm starting to run, but it's really hard because I have to like make myself do it every day. And it's like, it takes a lot of brain power. And then you get to that final unconscious competence where I just run at 7:30 every morning. I don't think about it. My sneakers are right there by the door. I just put them on and do it. So the idea is to get to that place where it feels like a habit. And we do that through making small changes every day. And there's one method that I love. And I brought a little prop today, my Legos. And speaking of self-care, this is one like visual way we can bring balance into our day. So you can just create a jar you put about 60 pieces. I choose Legos because my son is obsessed with Legos and we have maybe 4,000 boxes of Legos at my house. Yeah. But you could use like cotton balls or paper clips or candy, although there's danger of the candy disappearing. But you just find a jar and you put about 60 pieces in it and think about your day. And it's like, who here like wakes up first thing in the morning and you grab your phone and you check your email and your social, put it in chat and be honest.
I check to see how many people are registered for today's webinar. I will say it's the first thing I do every morning.
So if you do that, you gotta like take a bunch out. You take like 6 out. And who here has like back-to-back meetings or calls, Then you get another bunch, you're taking it out. Who sometimes works over lunch. Not if you're having lunch with Lisa, but if you're not having lunch with Lisa, then a few more go out. And if you skip exercise, and just imagine all that, and we're not even halfway through the day, and and our tank is kind of empty. We have to refill our tank. We can't keep running on empty. And so it's just a good visual reminder that if you keep taking and taking and taking from your tank, you are literally running on empty. So you got to put it back in. So you got to take lunch. You got to not check your phone first thing. Maybe have a meditation or breathe or think of things you're grateful for. Eat a good breakfast and then you'll keep it balanced.
Right. That's great. I think that's a really good way of visually looking at things too. So I'm like, ooh, my tank is going down.
Sometimes it's better when you're making a new habit to have like a visual reminder. You don't always need it, but to get it going, just be like, oh boy, here I go. And it really cues you to be like, okay, wait, I got to take that moment for myself.
Right. Now, one of our listeners, watchers, attendees,
with Oreo.
Kristen's talking about filling that jar with Oreos and M&Ms. Kristen, why do I have a feeling that your tank's going to be depleted pretty quickly, right?
Snack tank. Yeah.
That's a really great one. As we know, this goes really quickly. We're at 12:33. It was 7 minutes left. I'm just going to look at our poll real quick. Interesting day. So again, I always say it could always be our attendees, but we're at 38% are loving working from home. 54%, that's low. That's lower than it's been. It was about yesterday too. 57%, it's working well. And 7% can't wait to get back to the office. That can't wait to get back to the office, I'm telling you, is going down. I can't wait to show the graph. Maybe the end of this week, we release the graph of so far of where we've been. But I think people are getting used to this working from home.
They really are. They really are.
As we think about this, where do they find the 7 stages of resilience?
Oh, well, we have a great blog post on meQuilibrium.com, and I can give you guys the link to it. Maybe can I follow up with that after and can send?
I think my team can probably post that right now too, so they can post that up, and that's what the blog on meQuilibrium.
Yeah.
You've written for so many of the top magazines and you head content for meQuilibrium. What does that mean to be the head of content, the senior vice president of content?
Basically, we create all of the skills and activities and the webinars and everything. The meQuilibrium is this whole personalized product. So, whether you need help with anxiety and sleep or anger and financial stress, we have skills and activities that help support you to make those changes in the program. And myself and my team, we create all of those skills and activities, and we work with our chief science officer and our chief medical officer and create all this great content on how to build your resilience and mitigate against stress and all these facets across your life, from mindfulness to focus to purpose, values, sleep, physical health, eating, problem solving, all these great things.
What would you say is the number one issue of all of them that you've seen? What would you say is most common that people get stuck? And that some resilience and some tools, right? Again, this isn't like taking on a marathon. This is just starting to get out and walking a little more and getting and exercising that muscle. What is those tools that people most need consistently?
The number one thing is this: we are all wired for the negative, which means we are wired to feel negative emotions more easily and more quickly than positive emotions. It's what kept us alive when we were being chased by lions, tigers, and bears. We don't need that capacity right now, but we're wired that way nonetheless. And so we are wired to feel anxiety, frustration, anger, sadness, shame, embarrassment more easily than happiness and pride and all those other good things. So it's called, and we all have one emotion that we experience more easily and quickly than others. Mine is anxiety. Some people are, those anger people, the sadness people, so the most powerful thing we can do is become aware of what our signature emotion is, where we default to, and gain those tools like Trap It, Map It, Zap It, or positivity tools, to work around and manage that. That is the single most powerful thing we can do is to be able to catch ourselves when we fall into our habitual reactions to things and kind of reroute around them. And that's kind of at its basis what resilience does. And Trap It, Map It, Zap It is one thing. Another is simply just we will glaze over the good stuff quickly and easily, and not so to take a moment and call out the good stuff. We keep a win list on my team. What are the things we did this week that were great? Or thinking of 3 great things that you love. We do this around the dinner table with my kids. What are 3 good things that happened today? Someone said thank you. Someone held the door. That's enough to create new neural pathways in your brain to feel more positive emotion more quickly and easily.
And even then it becomes a habit.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It becomes a habit. And, when we were talking yesterday, you talked about that controlling emotion, right? Yeah. Controlling that negativity and saying, wait a minute, I want almost, I guess, trap it, map it, zap it, which is you trapped it and you said, all right, I might wait. I may not respond that way. I might think through this for a second and think about, all right, which way do I want to go? Similar to what you just said, that it starts to become the habit versus having to trap it first.
That's right. You just trap it, map it, zap it. You keep doing it. You don't even know you're doing it, and you're just catching yourself. I mean, honestly, I catch myself probably 1,000 times a day. And that's what you need to do. You just keep catching up, and then it just becomes automatic. Exactly to your point, you just bring yourself back. Yeah. And then you won't be doing that. You get that email or that text from someone, it has a little ad, you're like, boom, and then you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. So it will prevent us from doing that too.
I find especially the ones at night, right? I'm like, I might wait till the morning to reply to this. I'm just always a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more emotional about something in the evening than I am in the morning. So, and then you get to look at it and say, does this make the most sense to do? This has really been terrific. We have 1 more minute. I just want to remind everybody that tomorrow we have Peter Shankman on. And speaking of anxiety, if there's one thing that I've been told for years, anxiety can drive your ADHD. ADHD can drive your anxiety. This is something we're all talking about right now. Peter wrote the book Faster Than Normal. If you're not familiar with it, read it, because if you don't have it, you know someone who does. And he's all about ADHD, and ADD when managed is your superpower. And he has a podcast about this. We're really excited to have him on tomorrow. So again, we can take what we've learned today about trap it, map it, zap it, and then say, okay, how are we managing in our home offices, particularly if we're used to running around, being at things and being stimulated all of the time. Again, we're not even in our normal space to trap it, map it, zap it, right? We have different environments and different things coming at us. And so I hope you can all join us tomorrow for that. Alanna, anything else you want to leave everyone with today?
I would just say one last thing is to practice some self-compassion for ourselves, and even tying to your guest tomorrow, who's amazing, just giving ourselves, like, if I can't focus this minute, or if I didn't get this one thing done that I have, or, I'm having trouble juggling the kids at home, practice some self-compassion, talk to you. I think we are all extremely hard on ourselves, and taking that minute to talk to yourself as you would a friend or your child, have some compassion. These are difficult times, challenging times, and really, really important to have compassion for ourselves and others.
That's great. Alanna, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for being with us. Remember that any of the t-shirt sales from Wicked Dog Apparel, they have their Stay Safe, Stay Wicked with the mask. 100% of those proceeds go to the Beth Israel Heroes Fund. I know that one of our participants yesterday bought 20 shirts. I heard from them. So thank you. They bought it for their whole team. And again, 100% of the proceeds of those shirts go to the Heroes Fund. So thank you everyone for joining today, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.